Hey, Aquarius, Mel, Intuitive Coach here. Excited to bring in your July 2025 bonus reading. If you are interested in a personal reading, signing up for the monthly newsletter, or entering into the free reading giveaway, you can find all of that information in the description box below the video. All right, Aquarius, we are going to take a look at sacred shifts and divine gifts. What is showing up for you this month? Bottom of the deck, no surprise to see the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is bringing in a new cycle, a new phase of your life. This is destined. This is fated. It could be an event. It could be a turning point that kicks off here, a new beginning. I feel like this is forward momentum. Something is shifting here in your favor. There is change bubbling up in your world, Aquarius, but it feels like this is a change agent that is bringing you closer to a dream or a goal that you have set out to conquer. And I'm also getting happiness. Happiness could be the goal. Happiness may be what you are wanting to bring into your world to some capacity here. Now let's dive in and get messages from your spiritual helpers. You have, first off here, Odin. Odin brings in psychic insight. Your third eye is open. See truth for what it is. Follow your intuition. Now, Odin is a seer. He has one eye that is open to reality, and the other eye has been gouged out, right? The other eye is missing, but it's allowing him to look within. And I feel like that is the reminder here, is to look within, because not everything is as it seems. And you have the gift of intuition. We all do. And I feel like you are being divinely guided at this time, and there may be a bit of a divine detour or intervention taking place for you that is ushering in change. Now you have charity coming in, prayer and contemplation. Connect with heaven. Ask and you shall receive. It feels like there may be a charitable contribution, some sort of financial aid, assistance, a new income opportunity. It feels like some sort of resource is showing up for you this month to help you out in some way. It could be someone's acts of kindness or service. It could be monetary. It could show up in the form of money. It could be happiness or inspirational ideas that you're taking action on. So look for the charity, look for the connection, and also be open to receptivity, because charity is coming in saying you deserve this. Be open. There's a feeling here of receptivity, meaning that some of you may have subconsciously closed yourself off to receiving. Now, sometimes we do that because we're in a belief system that we have to do it all on our own. That was a big belief that I had carried with me for many years. As a young girl even, I was an only child, and oftentimes I was left on my own to survive. And I had instilled this belief that I had to go it alone, that no one was going to support me, so I had to support myself. And what that did was, when charitable contributions came in through the form of loving advice or loving gestures, love in general, I put up that defense mechanism. I put up that wall, that barrier, unintentionally, subconsciously, because I had instilled that belief that my needs will not get met through others. And sometimes we throw up that wall. And for those of you that have also gone through experiences where you've had to go it alone, make sure that your receptors are open. And that includes your psychic receptors, being open to intuition, being open to receiving the downloads, the messages. It doesn't have to just be, charity. Oftentimes we think, well, we don't want a handout. That's not what this is. This is about you being able to connect to that life force energy, that energy that wants to bring in reciprocity, help and support. You have here green Tara, who brings in supreme protection. Aquarius, you are protected. Cords are being cut. Move beyond limitation and trust. Green Tara. Some of you are wondering if you will be supported or protected as you go through this transformation, as you go through this change, because there's an ending showing up currently in your world. There's some form of transformation that is happening, that is occurring within you, and you might start to see the evidence of this show up in your outer world. And Spirit wants you to know that it's important, of course, to keep that eye open to your reality of what's going on around you, but also to turn that eye inward and trust in your own psychic awareness. All right, so let's dive in. What does your higher self want you to know? You have the Death card here. The Death card is about transitioning here. You're transitioning out of an old role, a role that you have played, some of you many, many years. Maybe it's the role of wife. Maybe it's the role of husband or, employer, coworker, sibling, whatever it is here, there may be some changes around the role that you have once played. Even in parenting, we may hang on to that role of parent, but it shifts and transforms as our children grow, as they mature, as they age. And I see here that there is a role that is not the same as it was in the beginning. And some of you are closing out that door and remembering here that every ending comes a new beginning. And I see that there's a new beginning, but you may be worried around this new beginning. There's something here that may be causing you to feel a little bit anxious. It may be causing you to feel at times like you may, have to go it alone. And that's why Charity comes in and says, you're not alone. There's help. There are resources. There's something ahead for you to, explore through the eyes of curiosity, because what's ahead feels calm. It feels like it's calming to your nervous system. Don't default back into old patterns that cause your nervous system to fight or flight, to cause your nervous system to feel like you are on overdrive here. So you are moving towards calmer waters. And not only are you doing this, but you're not doing it alone. You are supported to some degree here for you. Now, what is the block? What is the noise, the ego, or the blind spot? It can be this departure, because sometimes we look back and we wonder, are we doing the right thing? We can cling to old ways. We fall back into that default pattern, that default mode. And it takes time to rewire our brains. It takes time to start telling ourselves a new story. It took time for me to not feel like I couldn't let anyone in. It took time for me to break down that old defense mechanism of survival. And I feel like you've been working on rewiring. You've been working on healing your own body, your own mind. And sometimes that default of falling back into old habits can be a blind spot. It can be a block. And Spirit is saying, look forward, right? Or look within, I should say, with Odin showing up, because psychic insight is saying, your third eye is open. There's some sort of truth that is out. You are shattering through an illusion. If you feel like something has been foggy or hazy, you are being guided to trust in your intuition, and you are protected as you move forward. So what is the mirror? How is this being reflected in your life? We have Libran's scales of justice. Some of you may be going through a divorce. You may be going through a legal proceeding due to a death. For others of you, you may have gone through something that felt very unfair, very unethical. Perhaps legal representatives or karma could have been involved here with this justice. But this is about retribution. It's about judgments and even accountability. And I see that is showing up in your world where you're saying, okay, I am taking accountability here, or I need to take accountability because something feels off kilter, something feels off balance. And it is the law of, cause and effect, the law of karma here, where something that is imbalanced at some point will become balanced, right? It's a universal law. So it feels like you are trying to remove something from your world, or not even remove it, okay? Because the death isn't necessarily just about a removal. It's about a transcendence. It is about you being able to say, okay, that is where my energy was at one point, but now, it's being released from this area or this lesson or this concept here, and I can transcend that energy and transition into this new form, because that's what energy does. Energy cannot be destroyed. It is just transformed into something new. And that's what's happening here. You're not being destroyed. You are changing form. Something here, some role or old identity, old skin, old mask that you've worn is being transformed. This is actually a very powerful moment for you, because you are bringing in and restoring balance back to all of your chakras. Look at on this card here. All of the chakras are highlighted, and you're moving towards more peace. That's the Six of Swords, because the block, the blind spot, you may have been circling back around, going back into the Five of Swords, which is my least favorite energy. Because when we circle back around, because I say that because this is showing up as your block. It's showing up as the blind spot where you may not even realize that you're circling around sometimes. Maybe you do. But the Six of Swords rolls back into the Five, which can be manipulation. It can be manipulation of our own mind, our own stories. It can be argumentation between you and another, or between you and a group of people. It can be adversity here to some degree, where it's a pure battle of the ego and you want to get out of it. Now, there is a specific message coming in. It's not going to resonate with everyone. Please take it as it does. Some of you may have some lifestyle that does not coincide with how someone else believes. So for example, some of you may wear the pride flag, right? You may have a different sexual orientation, or you have some sort of belief that is your belief and your belief alone, right? And you may be challenged by family, by society, by, the workplace, adversity in some way. Maybe it's ageism. It could be anything. I feel like you have felt the pressure from it. You may have even felt bullied from some sort of adversity here. And I feel like there's balance being restored to you, meaning confidence here and moving forward, moving up out of that, maybe not taking it personally, or maybe advocating and saying, wait a second, I'm taking a stand. I am going to stand prouder, and I'm going to stand stronger within my belief, because I'm not going to let anyone tear me down. So it just feels for some of you, there's been like a rub up against some form of adversity. Now, What is the mirror? What is being reflected in your life? Resistance. That can be hitting a brick wall. Some of you have hit a glass ceiling in your career, in your job, your relationship, or you've been met with resistance. It's like the more you push for something, the more it pushed back against you. And the Nine of Wands is tired. He's been wounded. He's gone through a lot of fights. But this tells me here that you're a fighter. Aquarius, you are a fighter. And I feel instead of fighting with the Five of Swords, you're going to fight for, your peace. You're not going to fight for the ego. You're going to fight for the heart. And that's what's showing up here. You have this raw determination within you, this determination that is overcoming the external hurdles. There's something deep within your soul that is being reignited. There's this newfound determination, and you're like, wow, where did that come from? But I feel like it's coming from something deep within you. It's not a fight of the ego. It's not manifestation based in fear. This is soul. Soul revival is the word that's coming to mind. Soul revival. All right, what is the gift? The gift here is to be able to choose to make a choice that feels solid, that feels aligned with the head and the heart, because oftentimes the biggest restraint that we have is because the head and the heart are going in two different directions, right? Or our emotions are moving us over here and our head is moving us over here, and there's just out of alignment. That's the balance that's being restored here. Something feels out of alignment and you may feel torn. You may feel like you're at a tug of war. And I often describe this Two of Swords. It almost looks like one of those finger traps, even though it's a yarn a yarn and the needles here. It feels like one of those finger traps that you stick your fingers in and go to pull and your fingers are locked in. It feels like some of you don't want to make the wrong choice, because then you're going to have to deal with the consequence, right? And there's consequences for every action. But if this choice of yours is aligned in your intuition, then you are going to move in the direction that brings you more growth, brings you more love, brings you more happiness, which all of those energies are your birthright. It doesn't mean that you're not going to face challenges, but the way that you handle them will be different. And I see here that the gift here is allowing yourself to make a choice instead of feeling paralyzed, instead of feeling stuck. You have the gift of choice. And oftentimes we feel like we're stuck, just like that finger trap. Like, I don't have a choice, Mel. What are you talking about? I can't get out of this. I buried myself so deep, or I'm in so much debt, or I'm in over my head. Maybe that's where charity comes in here. That could be where charity comes in. And it doesn't have to mean monetary. Although some of you it is, okay? It is going to be some sort of financial help, assistance, aid, a new income source, new abundance showing up for you in any way, shape, or form, as long as you allow it, as long as you receive it. And your outcome, the integration, the grounded action that you are meant to take, the mindset to carry forward, is the Six of Wands. Beautiful. I love the Six of Wands. It is success, right? It's victory. It's leadership. It's accomplishment. It's achievement. Now, you didn't get to where you are at all by yourself. And we don't need to let the ego feel fed by external validation. This is about you knowing that everything you've gone through, the good, the bad, the ugly, meaning those relationships or those parental struggles, the people who were not there, the people who were, right? The lessons that were difficult and the memories that brought joy and happiness, all of it intertwined creates your success, creates triumph in your life. And I see here that you have worked long and hard to get to where you are at in your life. Now, some of you, a lot of you will see this reward take place in the physical, Okay, I am getting physicality here, especially with the major arcanas that I see, the death, the justice, and the wheel of fortune. These are big monumental milestones, meaning these are big life events that are happening for you. Doors are closing, new doors are opening, balance is being restored. Fate and destiny are intervening here for you to bring in triumph, to bring in success. This is about spiritual accomplishment as well. You've done a lot of inner work. Oftentimes we look at external, external proof of our success, which, don't get me wrong, you can have that here with the Six of Wands. There can be external things to show. But what I really feel from this Six of Wands is this is spiritual satisfaction. This is you coming to a point in your life where you're saying to yourself, I did it. I did it. I worked hard for that degree. I worked hard to pay off this home. I worked hard to recover from that abusive relationship, right? I worked hard to continue growing in my skill set. I worked hard on building this business. I worked hard at creating a family. And it feels like there is a level of accomplishment that you are taking credit for, but I see other people acknowledging it. It could be through, your clients. It could be through your growing business. It could be that you have put out, little humans out into the world that are now adults. You've reached this milestone here in a way that feels soulful, right? Soulful, not soulless. It feels soulful. Aquarius, that is the mindset that you are being asked to take forward. That even though you may have gone through stuff in the past, embrace all of it and say, yes, I threw up those mechanisms for protection because at some point, maybe my inner little girl or my little inner boy needed that to survive because that's all I knew. Maybe I needed to take care of myself, and that old condition that I had, added to my energy, maybe I needed it at that time to take care of myself. But you are not your old self, right? It feels like you have grown, you have transformed, you've shed an old skin. And I feel like you are stepping into an era of your life, a cycle, right? With that wheel of fortune, you're stepping into a cycle here that feels very abundant, very successful, very spiritual, very intuitive. So this change that is coming in tells me that not only will you be recognized for your hard work in the material earthly realm, but spiritually your guides are acknowledging how far you've come. So, and right behind the wheel of fortune, you have the Ace of Wands. So definite new beginnings coming in after maybe a door closing out for you, or an old chapter, an old cycle, an old phase of your life closing out. I'm also getting the numbers 40, 52, and 55. Perhaps those are numbers in your age. Maybe they are numbers in like a phone number or an address. And I'm getting the name here, Sammy or Samuel could be significant. And I just seen a sign that says for sale and then sold underneath it. So someone could be moving or maybe buying or selling a home that may be showing up. So thank you so much for tuning in, Aquarius. If this reading resonates, please give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Lots of love.